Hi friends, I am Sarvan Kumar, your economy faculty. Welcome to Rathod's IAS. Friends, this introductory class is all about making you familiarize with the subject Indian economy from the perspective of UPSC. Right? And it is the rich quality of any UPSC aspirant to analyze the trends in which the questions are being asked with respect to any subject in UPSC, and it is even true for our subject. So even we are going to analyze these trends before we start our preparation. So let us try to analyze the weightage of the Indian economy in the prelims, and then we are going to analyze the weightage of the subject economy in the mains, so that you can understand the way in which, or the weightage how this Indian economy is going to carry in your preparation. So if you look at this subject right from the beginning of 2011, see, if you observe these numbers, it says a significant weightage is being given to this subject both in prelims as well as mains. See, in 2011, about 19 questions were directly asked from the static portion, right, in UPSC prelims. Now, when we analyze the average from the year 2011 to till 2021, the average number of questions being asked from the subject, right, stood at around 15. So, if we know that each question carries 2 marks in UPSC, it translates to about 30 marks, and this is the weightage of the subject on an average in your UPSC prelims. So, right, acquiring 30 marks is going to play a great role in being selected to UPSC mains. It is going to be a game changer, right? So, with this, you might got an idea that what is the weightage of this Indian economy in prelims, right? When we look at the topic wise questions, here I have clearly demarcated the different kinds of topics which we are later going to understand, but here just try to observe that from which topic, right, from which topic how many number of questions are being asked, right? Understanding this analysis is also going to make you familiarize with what kind of subject you should be giving more time, right? So here we do have different kinds of subjects, although I know that you are not at all familiarized with these subjects right now, with these topics right now. Just believe me guys, you are going to understand all these topics very clearly in our upcoming classes. Just try to understand. You might have a basic idea about them even before starting your preparation. Just look at them. See here, in the banking sector, about 6 questions. In the money and banking sector, which we are going to study in our upcoming classes, about 6 questions were being asked in the year 2021. Now, it is not only true in this year. When it comes to the year 2020 and even the rest of the previous years, here you can see that the average number of questions being asked from this topic, money and banking sector, is more. So that's the reason why, in fact, when we are studying about our topics as a part of our preparation, we are going to give a great emphasis to that kind of subjects, because time is very rich in our preparation. So that's the reason why, in fact, when we are preparing, we are going to give particular emphasis with respect to these kind of topics, and we are also going to discuss the rest of the topics in a same level, because we are not going to take any chance with respect to UPSC, because this is not an academics. There is no such kind of a topic called an important topic. Just here we are just trying to analyze the trends, that's it. But each and every topic is very important in UPSC, so we are going to discuss all of them very clearly. Now when it comes to the mains, when we look at the mains, the weightage of the subject Indian economy in UPSC, here, as you don't know about the subjects right now, just try to be with me that in national income, the chapter national income, which we are going to study in the part 1 of Indian economy, about a question of about 20 marks being asked in the 2020 mains, And from agriculture, which is a very much important topic in UPSC, about 30 marks, questions worth of 30 marks being asked, right? From agriculture and marketing, right, the questions weightage got about 25 marks. And from the food processing, you might have already seen a glimpse of your UPSC mains syllabus. There you might have understood all these topics. Just look at these topics, just bear with me, and you are going to clearly understand all these topics in our rest of the classes. So here, by understanding this analysis, you have a clear idea that how much weightage do you get with this subject Indian economy in your GS paper 3, right? Now, even it is true for the year 2019, here about 110 marks out of 250 marks are being asked from this economy, right? And in 2018, about 100 marks, right? And in 2017, about 120 marks. See, in such a way, there is a great weightage for the subject Indian economy in both your prelims as well as mains, right? So that's the reason why we need to focus more on the main subjects, right? You might have already have an idea that what are the subjects primarily you need to get focused on while you are preparation. As a part of it, the core subjects, apart from leaving the rest of the core subjects, Indian economy in such a way is going to play a key role in guaranteeing a seat in your mains, right? Now, when it comes to the course that we are going to provide, guys, I do believe that if a concept cannot be explained simply, that means you didn't understand anything. If somebody explains you any concept very simply, that means he knows the concept and you are also going to understand that concept very clearly. Now we are going to understand all those syllabus, right? All those syllabus of UPSC very clearly in a layman language. Very clearly in a layman language, right? It is, I know that many of you are not from the academics where you have this subject economy, right? It is a hard fact to digest that many of the UPSC aspirants who pursue to be a bureaucrat does not come from that academics, right? So that's the reason why we in Rathod's IAS designed our course particularly in such a way so that even an aspirant who comes the non-academic background is going to clearly understand all the concepts which are very much important for your UPSC preparation, right? And even we have placed that course at a very reasonable price so that you can leverage the advantage of this course by thereby completing your preparation with respect to Indian economy, right? So this is how you are going to do it. And when we look at the syllabus of Indian economy, which we are going to clearly discuss in our upcoming classes, right? We have clearly demarcated the syllabus, right, with respect to UPSC into two parts. In the first part, we are clearly going to discuss all the macroeconomic concepts which is very much relevant from your UPSC prelims perspective, right? Even those kind of concepts and understanding a knowledge about the concepts is also very much going to helpful you in writing your mains answers, right? So in such a way, I have clearly demarcated the whole syllabus into two parts. In the first part, where we are going to discuss about all these macroeconomic concepts, and in the next part, we are going to begin our discussion with the evolution of Indian economy, right from the beginning, where the Britishers, right, how the Britishers have stagnated the Indian economy to the recent current affairs, how Niti Aayog is identifying the PSUs for the strategic disinvestment. From there, we are going to understand all the important concepts. Guys, the part 1 of the Indian economy, which we are going to study in our upcoming classes, is very much important, particularly from the point of prelims, because in your daily current affairs, in your day-to-day current affairs, you might have studying the newspaper like Hindu and Financial Express. Many of the terms that appears in these newspapers, right, is a nightmare to understand. They are not of an easy nature. it becomes or it consumes a lot of time to even understand a small concepts, right? Many of us, as not from the background, it is true that we can't understand them very simply. Even a normal current affair can be understood within a no time, but the current affairs with respect to Indian economy, which you try to study in your UPSC preparation, right, it is not going to easily understand by you. Understanding the static concepts clearly, having a basic foundation about the concepts is very much important before you start your preparation, right? Now we have designed that whole syllabus in such a way so that one by one, step by step, you have a clear-cut idea about all those macroeconomic concepts which make you familiarize or which gives you a basic foundation in the Indian economy to clearly understand all those macroeconomic concepts you just try to understand in your newspapers, right? As a part of it, in the first chapter, we are going to discuss about the introduction to economics, right? Where we are going to study the idea of economics altogether. Next, we have the streams of economics. We are clearly going to discuss the three important economic systems that were prevalent in the world. Say, for example, the state economy, the market economy, the mixed economy, right? The state economy and market economies are the classic economics which once prevailed in the USA as well as the USSR, right? And how the third world countries, right, these third world countries like India have adopted this kind of mixed economy once they got independence, right? We are going to clearly discuss about all of them, and in the next chapter, in the national income, we are going to clearly understand the new ways, the new methods of calculating the national income. Effective from 2015, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation came up with new method of calculating this national income, right? It is the value added method, right? It is the value added method. Right? We are clearly going to understand how this value added method is going to be used in calculating this national income. Right? This is a latest trend, guys. Many of the courses which are being offered to you is not providing the latest trends in this chapter of national income. We here in the Rathod's IAS have clearly designed our course to align with these kind of modern preparation with respect to UPSC. Now, next we are going to discuss about all those measures like gross value added, gross domestic product, and gross national income, even on the basis of this new value added method, right? Value added method. What is this value added all about? What is this value addition? Why we call the GST, this goods and service tax, as value added tax? Why do we call it? We are going to clearly understand all these concepts in a layman language, right? And when it comes to the next chapter, we have the economic growth, right? Here we are clearly going to understand the basic differences between economic growth and economic development, right? Providing a monetary perk is not that way in which the people are being developed in any country. Right. In this chapter, we are going to clearly understand the basic difference, that there is a lot of difference from being an economically grown country and being an economically developed country. Next, we are also going to continue our discussion with respect to measures of economic development. Right. Although economic growth can be clearly measured by using some variables, like say for example GDP. Now, many of the international institutions all over the world have came up with different kinds of tools even to quantify the economic development. We are going to clearly understand about them. These kind of topics are very much important from your mains perspective. Now, in the next chapter, we are clearly going to understand this poverty and unemployment, right? We are also going to understand different kinds of, different kinds of poverties and different kinds of unemployments. We are clearly going to understand all those concepts which are very much important from your prelims perspective. We are going to understand about the disguised unemployment. We are going to understand about the underemployment, right? Underemployment. So in this way, all those macroeconomic concepts which you usually see in your newspapers will be discussed by us very clearly. When it comes to the tax structure in India, we are clearly going to discuss about the tax regime, right? You might have clearly known, right, with a preoccupied idea that we do have a finance commission, right? The Constitution of India in the Schedule 7 have clearly demarcated the areas upon which both the central government and state government can impose the tax. As you already know that a welfare government have a lot of duties to perform, right? Both the Constitution have given the responsibilities to be fulfilled by both the central governments and state governments. In order to fulfill those responsibilities, they need resources, right? From where these resources come from? They come from imposing the taxes. Now, that's the reason why, in fact, Constitution itself have clearly demarcated the areas upon which the central government can impose the tax as well as state governments can impose the tax. Now, if you observe those areas where the central government can impose the tax and state government can impose the tax, most of the revenue earning, the tax earning bases are being dedicated to the central government, which I mean to say that more tax revenue earning tax bases are being dedicated to the central government. Only a certain limited part of tax is being given to tax by the state governments. And the same Constitution also provided that to constitute a finance commission to devolve certain amounts from the taxes of central government to the state government in order to fulfill perfectly or to up to the mark by the state governments. So in such a way, we are going to clearly discuss all those concepts, right? Next, we are going to discuss about this goods and services tax. As I already said, this goods and services tax, you might already have this idea about it. Like, goods and services tax is called a single VAT of the country. Now, the name itself suggesting that it is a value added tax. Now, we are going to clearly understand what is this value added. To have a glimpse of about our course which we are going to understand, let me give a brief example in the beginning of the class itself so that how we are going to analyze the topics can be known by you here itself. Say for example, if we take, say here, imagine that this is a packet of bread which is priced at 80 rupees. Say for example, the manufacturer of that bread need some raw materials, right? So in order to manufacture that bread, a manufacturer purchased a wheat at 20 rupees. Now he needs electricity to run the machinery in that manufacturing unit. Say for example, he purchased it at 10 rupees. Total, we call them as inputs, right? Total, they are priced at 30 rupees. Now, as you know that this output value, the price of the bread is priced at 80 rupees. Now, if we deduct these input cost from the output value, that is 80 minus 30, we can clearly have this value added. This is the value that is being added by the manufacturer to the inputs that he have taken. This is called value addition. Now, if you ask me what is the variables that we can see in this value added, they are nothing but compensation to the employees. In order to run that machineries, we need employees, right? That manufacturer needs employees, so they need to be paid. Say for example, the salary is paid to them maybe 10 rupees, right? He needs some income. After all, he is running that manufacturing unit to earn some income. We are going to understand that income under two heads, right? Income surplus or mixed income, surplus income. Just for your understanding in a layman language, just understood as a profit. Say for example, if he needs a profit of 20. Now, the machines which are used to produce this bread will go wear and tear. We call it depreciation. In order to compensate it, 10 rupees additionally will be added, right? And there are a lot of taxes that the government is going to be imposed on the production of any product. Even it is true for the manufacturing of this bread. Say for example, the government is going to impose any kind of stamp duty, licensing fees. So all those will also be imposed on that particular product. Say for example, it accounts to 10 rupees. Finally, the total value became 15. So the 50 rupees amount is called the value added. Right. Now if a tax is imposed as a percentage on this value added, we call it as value added tax. So in such a way, in an easy way, we are clearly going to discuss all those concepts. Right. Next, we have this public finance. Right. In this public finance, we are going to discuss the differences between all these revenue receipts, capital receipts, expenditures, deficits. Right. With a single keyword, whether it is a one-way transaction or whether it is a two-way transaction. With that single keyword, with this single master keyword, we can clearly demarcate all those revenues, all those capital expenditure which is made by the government. Right. In such a layman terms, we are going to clearly understand about all these concepts, because if you analyze the trend in UPSC, right, you can clearly observe that in these days the UPSC is asking the static questions the way in which it is once used to ask. Right. So understanding about the static concept is very much important. Just by mere analyzing the data in your economic surveys and the budgets, and just by me reading the month end magazine is not going to suffice your preparation. Understanding all these concepts, even it takes 2 to 3 minutes in your exam center to understand and analyze and mark these kind of questions. Without understanding them, you cannot answer such kind of questions, no matter to what extent you read your current affairs. Right. So that's the importance of understanding and having a foundation with respect to these kind of subjects. When it comes to the money market in India, which we are going to discuss as a chapter 7, we are clearly going to discuss what is this RBI, what is the mandate of RBI, why we call RBI as lender of last resort. Even in 2021 examination, we have a prelims question with respect to such kind of concepts. Right? We are clearly going to discuss how and why the RBI is called as lender of last resort. Now, we are also going to study about RBI as a controller of credit. Right? How RBI, by controlling the credit in the economy, is going to stabilize the prices of goods and services in the country on the one hand. On the other hand, how by using its all monetary tools, it is going to ensure the growth. After all, it is the twin objectives of monetary policy of RBI, on one hand to ensure the growth of the nation, on other hand to control the inflation by using its monetary tools. We are clearly going to understand about all those concepts. And we are also going to understand this Basel III norms, right? And even in our previous year's questions, you can clearly observe this. Of course, in UPSC, there may be direct questions. In the previous year questions, they just ask simply that the Basel III norms are related to. But who knows, in future, they might ask you the questions in depth, in detail. So we should not take a chance. So that's the reason why in fact we have designed the course in such a way to clearly understand all those data, all those concepts very clearly. Right. Next, we are going to understand about the money market, its composition and important players. Right, where there is a question in UPSC prelims in 2021 about the urban cooperative bodies. Right. If you can understand the composition of money market, there we clearly discussed about all these banking structure, right? We are also clearly going to discuss about the role of these urban cooperative banks and rural cooperating banks in distributing and disbursing the credit in the rural and urban areas, right? And we are also going to discuss about the non-performing assets. What is the criteria to declare a particular asset as non-performing asset, right? To put it in a simple way, say for example, what is an asset? What is an asset? An asset literally means something which earns you some income. Say for example, if you have a car, right? Say for example, if you have a car, now if you use this car as rentals, now you are going to earn some income from it. Say for example, if you have a house, if you give it on rent, you are going to earn some income. So an asset is something which earns you some income. Here in our example, it may be a car, it may be a building. Similarly, what is the asset for a bank? It is the loan amount that a bank gives to its customer, going to earn some profit to it, some interest, right, to it. So we call the asset of a bank is a loan. Now what is the meaning of non-performing assets? If you decode the term itself, you can clearly understand that this particular asset is not performing. This particular asset is not performing. What does it mean? A performing asset is something which the individual who took the loan is going to repay that amount, repay the interest and repay the principal. If at all the person who took that loan is not repaying that principal amount and interest, we call that asset, as the loan is called asset, we call such kind of loans as non-performing assets. So in such a layman languages, we are going to discuss about all those concepts. We are clearly going to understand what are these money stock measures. These money stock measures are very much important from your prelims perspective. We are clearly going to discuss about all of them. And next, we are going to discuss about the capital market, right? Many of you might confused that what is the basic difference between a foreign direct investment. Even after years of preparation, many of the aspirants lack a clarity about what is this foreign direct investment and foreign portfolio investment. Right? If you ask me to define it here itself, I would simply say that all those investments that comes into the country other than the stock markets is called foreign direct investment. All those investments that comes into the country through the secondary market is called foreign portfolio investment, and there are diversified portfolios through which the investment comes to the country. So in such a layman languages and easy terms, we are clearly going to understand all these concepts. Next, we are clearly going to understand this composition and functions of the capital market, which is very much important. Right. We are going to discuss about the financial intermediaries, and we are going to discuss about the capital market regulator SEBI. Right. And as you already know, when we discussed about the trends, when we just seen in the beginning of the class about the trend analysis, there if you observe very carefully, both this capital market as well as this money market, these two markets which we call as financial markets are very much important topics from your UPSC perspective with respect to the subject Indian economy. So that's the reason why in fact we have clearly discussed all these concepts, right? So next we have this insurance sector, right? We are clearly going to discuss about various institutions that are constituted by the government of India from time to time to regulate the sector. The way in which we have the RBI as a controller of money market, the way in which we have SEBI as a controller of capital market. Similarly, we have IRDAI as a controller of insurance sector in the country, right? We are going to discuss about them very clearly in our upcoming classes. Next chapter we do have is the inflation. Now inflation is a very much interesting topic and important topic both from your prelims as well as mains perspective, right? Now controlling the inflation is not only the mandate of the RBI, it is also the mandate of government. Now as a part of our discussion, we are clearly going to understand what is this inflation is all about, how to calculate inflation, what is price index. Now before understanding this consumer price index and wholesale price index, just merely mugging up the things is not going to suffice the exams preparation, guys. First of all, if you have to decode the terms. If you observe them carefully, we have this consumer price index as well as wholesale price index. First of all, you need to know what is the index is all about. Then we need to know how the price index is being calculated. Then we can clearly understand what is this CPI and WPI. Now, as a part of our preparation with respect to inflation, we are going to understand what kind of inflation that RBI is targeting to control. As we already known that the twin objectives of monetary policy of RBI is to ensure the growth on one hand and also maintaining the stability of prices on the other hand, which means maintaining the inflation rate between a stipulated range, that is 4 plus or minus 2 in the country. Now who decides that inflation rate to be a stable rate so that both the growth in the country continues as well as the prices in the economy being stable? We are going to clearly understand, we are going to clearly discuss all those concepts, right? Next we have this external sector, right? You might have clearly understood that with the basic idea, you might have clearly understood, you had heard an idea about what is this balance of payments. They might appear in your newspapers, right? What is this balance of payment? What is this current account? What is the capital account? Right? What is current account convertibility? What is capital account convertibility? We are clearly going to discuss all these concepts, and we are also going to discuss about the reserves. We are also going to discuss about different kinds of reserves which are held with the central bank of a country. Next, we are going to discuss about the foreign exchange, right? Many of the UPSC aspirant from this chapter might get confused with the term the devaluation and depreciation and appreciation, and all these terms are very much confusing. We are clearly going to discuss them in a very late way. Next, we have the economic integrations and related concepts. Now, European Union is a kind of economic integration, guys. If you observe them, that most of the European countries, they are formed in union. The movement of labor is an easy process. Any part of the European country in the European Union, no matter what the country is, a labor can move to any other country, can settle there. They in fact have a common currency. So we are going to discuss about these kind of economic integrations. Often India talks about free trade agreements, right? Free trade agreements. These free trade agreements are nothing but relaxing both the tariff and non-tariff barriers with respect to the goods and services that are being traded between the countries who makes these kind of free trade agreements. So this is also a kind of economic integration. We are going to discuss about different levels of economic integrations, right, in this chapter. Right? You might have already observed in your previous year question papers that there is a lot of scope to ask the questions from this chapter. So we are going to discuss about them very clearly. Next, we have these international financial institutions. One or the other year, UPSC is asking about the questions from the topic of WTO. Right? You might have seen a question, right, skipping a year. Every year the UPSC asks questions from this. Not only the WTO, the rest of the international financial institutions such as IMF, World Bank, right, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and in such a way we do have a lot of international financial institutions which are the favorite topics for the UPSC to ask questions. So we are clearly going to discuss about all those institutions, right, in this chapter. Next, we have this part 2 where we are going to discuss about Indian economy, right. As a part of it, we are going to discuss about the evolution of Indian economy, right, where first we are going to discuss the status of Indian economy during the British era, how the British two-pronged policy, right, destroyed the economy of India, how once an exporter, once a country that had a 23% of the world GDP got degraded to a country where currently it has only about 2.3% of the world GDP. How it got happened by the time the British left us. Next, we are clearly going to discuss the prime moving force of the economy, right. After independence, right, we inherited independence with many problems, guys. We got independence, right. We also got many problems along with it. Say for example, poverty, right. Poverty, lack of food self-sufficiency. The decades of 1950s is said as the decades of population explosion. The population is growing very rapidly, but we don't have enough food to feed them. That's the reason why in fact we have the problems like PL 480, under which we have been imported the wheat from the countries such as America. Right? In fact, it had a great repercussions on our foreign policy during those times. So how in order to cope up with these kind of situations, the political leadership have taken the decisions, right? In fact, we have this green revolution later, right? In fact, we do have this land reforms before this green revolution to solve such kind of problems. But after the failure of the land reforms, we have this green revolution. Green revolution simply means we have made some changes to the traditional agriculture that we have followed once. right? The traditional agriculture that we have followed used the traditional seeds which the farmer used to store from the previous year crops, right? Then this trend got changed. We have made changes to our traditional agriculture by introducing the high yielding variety seeds and chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Thereby, with this new agricultural strategy, there is a rapid increase in the production of food grains, and this rapid increase in the production of food grains within a short period of time is called Green Revolution. So, how this land reforms failed and why this Green Revolution got continued is a continuous process after the land reforms. We are going to clearly discuss about them. Next, we are going to discuss about why India have adopted a planned and a mixed economy. As we already know that we, after independence, not only us, many of the third world countries who got independence after the Second World War have adopted such kind of economies. Right? In fact, these classic economic organizations such as the market economy and the state economy got ended by bringing or buying the trades from one another. Both these classic economies once prevailed in the erstwhile USSR and USA have brought the trades from one another, thereby ending the classic economic organizations, at the same time ending the Cold War. In fact, the Cold War is mainly due to such kind of ideological differences between these countries, right? Next, we are going to discuss about the role of the state in the economy. What is the role of the Indian government after independence in the development of the economy? Next, we are going to discuss about different economic organizations, right? Understanding about these economic organizations is very much important, both to understand the macroeconomic concepts as well as this Indian economy, right? Next, we are going to discuss about the planning in India. Without understanding the planning in India, we cannot understand the Indian economy. There is no Indian economy without the planning. So, we are clearly going to understand why, in fact, we adopted this planning. Why the Indian planning mechanism have been this Indian planning economy got many of its traits brought from the erstwhile USSR. In fact, I would say the Bolshevik USSR. Next, we are clearly going to discuss about the 5-year plans, and we are going to discuss about the central planning. What is the meaning of central planning? Why the planning process got centralized in the country? Why the Panchayati Raj institutions, even after being constituted with 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments, right, have not working effectively to decentralize the planning process. We are going to clearly discuss all these concepts. Next, we are going to discuss about the Niti Aayog. Now, before Niti Aayog, we are going to discuss about the Planning Commission, the erstwhile Planning Commission, and we are going to discuss Niti Aayog as a commission which replaced that erstwhile body. Right, we clearly going to understand the initiatives of the Niti Aayog. Guys, believe me, after the constitution of the Niti Aayog, UPSC have been asking many questions. If you analyze the previous year questions, which we are going to do in our upcoming classes, as and when we complete our discussion with respect to any chapter, there you might have observed that many questions are being asked from this topic. So we are going to discuss about all those important initiatives. Next, we have the important sector of the Indian economy, right? Primary sector. Right. As a part of it, as I already said, we are going to discuss about the land reforms first, then we are going to discuss about the revolution, Green Revolution. As I said, we have made some changes to the traditional agriculture that we have followed from the times immemorial, such as we have introduced the high yielding variety seeds. Right, these high yielding variety seeds and the rest of the ancillary products which we need to use in the agriculture, such as these chemical fertilizers, pesticides, are very much costlier, guys. But believe me that most of the farmers in India have this subsistence agriculture. What is the meaning of this subsistence agriculture? It is simply means whatever the agriculture produce that is produced by a farmer, most of it is being used for his consumption and his family's consumption. There is no more food grains being left with him to transport it to the market. If at all there is no enough food grains after being consumed to transport it to the market, how can a farmer can get some income to buy and to demand some goods? In such a way, we have been following this kind of subsistence farming by the farmer, and this subsistence farming is the traditional farming. Now, in order to ensure food self-sufficiency, this farmer needs to shift to the modern agriculture, that is the way in which the green revolution is practiced. So he needs, as on the one hand he is having the subsistence income, he don't have enough money, on the other hand his income needs to be enhanced. So that's the reason why we have this agriculture finance being extensively being developed in the country. Right. Earlier, the scheduled commercial banks does not have a provision of providing such kind of loans to agriculture sector. In fact, we are clearly going to discuss why this banking sector in the initial phases of this green revolution was reluctant to extend the agriculture credit to the farmers, which is very much needed to adapt the modern green revolution. Right? We are clearly going to discuss about it. Next, we are clearly going to understand this agriculture price policy. Right? What is this agriculture price policy? What is the CACP? What is MSP? We are going to clearly understand about all of these concepts. Next, we are going to understand this Food Corporation of India, its mandate, its functions, right? How the Food Corporation of India is going to procure the food grains from the farmers, right? It is the institution constituted by the government. On behalf of the government, it is going to procure the food grains for which the MSP is being announced. Now, we are clearly going to understand the difference between the terms such as procurement price, MSP, the central issue price. We are clearly going to discuss the rest of the concepts such as central food subsidy, state food subsidy, what is this fair price, what are these fair price shops, and why, right, a particular government, a particular state government is going to diversify its ration with respect to this target public distribution system. We are clearly going to discuss about all these concepts, right? As a part of it, at the end, we are clearly going to discuss about this agriculture insurance. As you know that the Indian agriculture is very much vulnerable to the vagaries of the unique climatic conditions of the country. Now, having this kind of agriculture insurance is very much essential to the farmers in the India to prevent them to get suicide. You know that crop loss, right? Crop loss is the major reason, one of the major reason for committing suicides by a farmer. So this agriculture insurance is going to become a very much important component in his life. So we are going to clearly discuss all these things, and we are also going to discuss about this agriculture marketing, where we are going to discuss about the APMC, Agriculture Produce Market Committee. In fact, this Agriculture Produce Market Committee notifies the products that will be grown in that particular area, and it says that the first sale of all those notified products should be done in this APMC mandis. But on the other hand, all those income which this APMC is going to earn as a part of license fees, taxes, it is not being subjected to, diverted to the consolidated fund of the state. In such a way, it is going to escape the scrutiny. So we are clearly going to discuss what all the actions, what are the mandates that this APMC is going to perform, and what is the lacunas in the performance of these APMCs. And we are clearly going to discuss about the new farm bills which are being recently introduced in the country. Right? We are clearly going to discuss all these concepts right from the land reforms to the these farm bills. Next, we are clearly going to understand the agriculture farm subsidies. There are different kind of subsidies that are being provided by both the central government as well as state government. Say for example, the state government is going to provide the electricity subsidy. So in such a way, we are going to discuss about different kinds of subsidies. Next, we have this food security. We are clearly going to understand the difference between this food security and food self-sufficiency. Next, at the end, we are going to discuss about all those latest schemes which are formulated by both the central governments and important state government schemes in the field of agriculture sector. Next, we are going to discuss about the secondary sector, that is industrial sector, where we are clearly going to discuss how the industrial policies which are being released by the government from time to time, right? developed the industries in the country. Now we have chosen the industries as a prime moving force of the economy. Why we have chosen the industries as a prime moving force of the economy over agriculture? By the time of independence, agriculture is a predominant occupation for most of the people in the country. But in spite of it, why we have chosen the industries as prime moving force? What is the reason, what is the rationale behind such decision taken by our political leadership is we are going to clearly discuss about them very clearly. And we are going to also discuss about this economic reforms of 1991, this LPG strategy. What is this LPG strategy? Why in fact we have went to the economic crisis by 1980s? Why we went to economic crisis by 1980s? Why in fact we implemented this LPG strategy in the year 1991 by releasing the industrial policy 1991? We are clearly going to discuss about all of them. And next we are going to discuss about the infrastructure, where we are going to discuss about all these PPP models which are very much important from your mains perspective, and we are going to discuss about the rest of the sectors, right? Next we are going to discuss about the services sector. Although a small topic, we are going to discuss about the different and important initiatives taken up by the governments both at the central level and state level for the development of service sector in India, because this is the sector that is currently leading the economy. So in such a way, we are going to understand the whole syllabus completely in a layman language, right? In such a way, you can understand the whole syllabus and you can complete your preparation perfectly, right? So when it comes to the source, you are going to study, right? First, the handouts that are being provided by us. Before that, you are going to clearly understand all the classes. Then you are going to study these NCERTs, if at all you feel needed. Next, if you ask me to tell the standard books, I would suggest you to read these key concepts of Indian economy by Shankar Ganesh, and you can also suffice your preparation if at all needed by this Indian economy. But I would say you that by listening to our classes once or twice and reading the handouts that are being provided to you will suffice, it is going to be enough for your preparation, right? And if you add the current affairs which appears in the news with respect to the static concepts which we have studied in our classes, most of your UPSC preparation with respect to Indian economy will be completed, right? So in such a way, we have aligned our course particularly to those kind of aspirants who feel these subjects difficult. As you know that it is a hard fact to digest that many of the UPSC aspirants don't come from the economy background. So keeping that in the mind, we have neatly designed this course even to understand you and to make a aspirant who came from the non-economic background to understand the economic concepts very clearly. So please make use of this course. It is going to fetch you a good marks and it is also going to guarantee you a seat in your mains. So please try to leverage these programs, right? And in the upcoming classes, we are clearly going to start our discussion with respect to the part 1 of the Indian economy, where we are going to discuss about all these chapters very clearly. Now, thank you and stay tuned to Rathod's IAS.